Bolyán A. The Bungeejumping Theory of Migration Case Study of Spartan Helen, Isis Cults, 2026. The ornithomorphic origin of the Osirian mythos, from the Siberian Maltabora culture to the Spartan Leda cycle. Abstract. As the Kalevala depicts, the flying bird motif represents an early shamanistic belief system where the bird mediates between the celestial and terrestrial realms. It is now provable that the Kalevala, as the prosaic Edda, is about the Trojan War. Bolyán, 2026, and Sampokin symbolized the Greek new unity under the spiritual leadership of Dodona, the oldest Greek oracle. Kalevala 43. Siloan Posholan Imanta. Vokalinta Vastapuli. Iski Kinten Sa Kovaan. Taker Tui Tamis Hen. Puran Puhun Purjetivan. Lavon Lon Aiden Varahan. Si ta Sampo Sarkivai. Kurjokansi Kimiltava. Murtui Muxi Kalioxi. Sini Pojan Pir Stalixi. Dash. In English, John Martin Crawford Fordidisa. Then the hostess of the Northland. This the bird of evil omen. Swooped upon the masts of oak wood. Fastened with her claws of iron. On the crossbeams of the vessel. Then the Sampo fell in pieces. And the lid of many colors. Shattered on the rocks of ocean. To the bottom of the waters. The Bungeejumping theory means that the human population is very sensitive to the climate changes, and during the ice ages they, automatically, migrate to a southern territory and vice versa. One of the most documented cases the so-called bird cults, e.g. Kalevala's beginning, the Isis, Osiris legends or the Leda myths appearing in the Trojan War stories are a documented evolution or, rather, Bungeejumping of the migrations between Europe and Africa, too. This paper proposes that the Greek myth of Leda and the four eggs is a primordial precursor to the Egyptian Osirian mythos, originating in the Siberian Maltabora bird cults, c. 24,00015,000 BCE. We argue that during the last glacial maximum, an avian maternal cult migrated from northern Eurasia into the Peloponnese, Sparta Dodona, and subsequently into Egypt during the era of the bearded gods, c. 11,000 BCE. In this Paleolithic stratum, Gaia was equivalent to the Egyptian Gabar, originally a female or androgynous earth deity. As post-glacial warming triggered migrations, the southern Zeus thought solar masculine influence overthrew the northern goddess duck tradition. This study examines the Spartan Isis sanctuaries and the biological necessity of Leda's avian nature to demonstrate that the Egyptian Ennead, Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, are the southern iterations of the four Spartan egg-born siblings, Helen, Clytemnestra, and the Dioscuri. 1. The Spartan duck sanctuary and the avian Leda. The presence of Isis sanctuaries in Sparta, as noted by Pausanias, likely points to a pre-existing cult site of the avian mother. In the traditional Leda myth, Leda must be a bird herself to produce eggs. While other Greek myths involve Zeus transforming to seduce human women who then give birth normally, Leda's story is unique, she produces eggs. This suggests that Leda was not originally a mortal woman but a primary bird deity of the Siberian Maltabora tradition, where Venus figurines were often depicted with avian features. Archaeological finds of bird-headed figurines across the Danube and Balkan corridors suggest a continuous bird goddess culture. In this original Spartan northern layer, the duck Leda, Gaia Geb, laid the eggs from which the world regulators were born. The Egyptian Geb, often represented as the great cackler, the goose who laid the world egg, is the linguistic and mythological fossil of this northern migration. 2. Isis Osiris in the Greco-Roman literary consciousness. By the time of Plutarch's De Icide et Osiride, the myth had been heavily Hellenized, yet the Trojan cycle preserves the high stakes of this avian lineage. The kidnapping of Helen, Isis Nebet Het, by Paris was not a mere romantic abduction but a ritualized attempt to reclaim the divine egg lineage. The four siblings emerging from Leda's eggs, Helen, Clytemnestra, Castor, and Pollux, map directly onto the Egyptian quartet, Isis, Nephthys, Osiris, and Set. The Spartan cult influenced Egypt during the Ice Age. Later, the return of these myths via the Ionian migration redefined the Mediterranean religious landscape. 3. Dodona and the persistence of the feminine Paleolithic. Dodona serves as the epicenter of the Ice Age female cult. The Dione figure at Dodona represents the feminine resistance to the Olympian Zeus. While Zeus attempted to patriarchalize the oracle, the dominance of the Cyclopean female builders, Sansuna legends, ensured that the feminine Gaia Dione remained central. The West European Venus figurines prove that the female-centric spiritual model was the dominant paradigm before the post-glacial solar male shift. 4. The Geb-Nut migration and the rewriting of the myth. The Egyptian myth of Geb, earth, and Nut, sky, reflects a northern migration where the northern giants or settlers established centers like Busiris in the Nile Delta. These settlers, originally from the Spartan European regions, brought the four-egg theology. However, as thought, the healers as analog, migrated from the south, Sumerian Ethiopian influences, the myth was rewritten. In the original European version, Gaia Geb was the feminine source. In the revised Egyptian version, Geb became male to accommodate the rising solar pharaonic patriarchy. This Bungeejumping effect where a cult travels south, transforms, and returns northeast seen in Leda's swan encounter. Leda, the duck, accepts Zeus, the swan, signaling the surrender of the old European feminine avian cult to the new southern masculine healer cult. Summary. The Leda Gaia Geb legends demonstrate a climate-driven cultural oscillation. The worship of Gaia Geb spread from Greek northern territories during the Ice Age. Following the warming period, the cult returned via the Zeus thought influence, but the four siblings from an egg remained the structural core. While Europe attempted to maintain feminine balance, e.g., the Kalevala's world egg, the Edda's servant teacher, and the Melusine Gaia figures, the Egyptian and subsequent Middle Eastern cultures shifted toward a total male dominance, Allopharaohs, losing the androgynous balance of the original Edom Leda cults. References. Citations. 1. Pausanias, Description of Greece, Book 3, 13.7 regarding the sanctuary of Isis in Sparta and the egg of Leda suspended from the ceiling. 2. Plutarch, Moralia, De Iside et Osiride on the identity of Egyptian deities with Greek counterparts. 3. Gimbutas, M. 1982, The Goddesses and Gods of Old Europe regarding the bird mask figurines and the bird goddess as the precursor to Leda. 4. Schliemann, H. 1881, Elios on the owl-headed or avian-featured deities found in the Trojan and Mycenaean strata. 5. Maltabora Archaeological Records, State Hermitage Museum, regarding the Siberian mammoth ivory flying bird pendants and Venus figurines, c. 20,000 BCE. 6. The Book of the Dead, Spell 125 referring to Geb as the Great Cackler, Kenken Wer, who guards the world egg. 7. Homer, The Odyssey, Book 4 describing the connection between Sparta, Helen, and the Egyptian medicine of Polydamna. Lycophron, Alexandra Leda, produced the threefold egg from which the torch of Troy emerged. 8. Bolyán Anita, www.academia.edu, and youtube.com. Appendix 1. Bird, Cults in Eurasia. The Avian and Egg Motif, a diachronic study of Paleolithic trans-Eurasian spiritual continuity. The avian and egg motifs represent some of the oldest symbolic languages in human history, serving as metaphors for cosmogony, the soul, and the cyclical nature of life. This study explores the archaeological and mythological trajectory of these motifs from the Siberian Paleolithic to the Nilotic civilizations. 1. The Siberian Nexus, Maltaburet and the Avian Soul. The Siberian Paleolithic, specifically the Maltaburet culture, approximate 24,00015,000 BP, provides the most concrete early evidence of a bird cult. The Malta Venuses and birds, excavations yielded numerous ivory pendants depicting water birds, swans, geese, or ducks, in flight. These are often found in burial contexts, suggesting the bird served as a psychopompa conductor of souls. Genetic and cultural bridges. The Malta boy, Ma1, established a genetic link between West Eurasians and Native Americans, but also highlights a cultural corridor. The flying bird motif represents an early shamanistic belief system where the bird mediates between the celestial and terrestrial realms. 2. European Paleolithic and the Great Goddess Hypothesis. In Europe, the bird and egg motifs appeared during the Aurignacian and Magdalenian periods. Avian anthropomorphs, figures from the Hohlfels and later Neolithic sites, e.g., Vena culture, frequently depict bird goddesses with beak-like faces and wing-like appendages. The egg as cosmogony, while physical eggshell remains are rarely symbolic in the Paleolithic, the oval shape appears in portable art. By the Neolithic, the egg became a central symbol of regeneration, as documented by Bungeejumping, linking the bird's womb, the egg, to the creation of the universe. 3. The Mediterranean Bridge, Greece and the Glacial Refuge. During the last glacial maximum, LGM, the Greek peninsula served as a vital refugium. Continuous habitation, unlike northern Europe, the Aegean remained habitable. This allowed for the preservation of old European symbols. The goose and the duck, in later Greek mythology, the Leda and the swan or the concept of the cosmic egg, Orphic egg, mirrors the Finno-Ugric and Samoyedic creation myths, the bird diving into the primordial ocean. It is highly probable that these motifs moved southward from the Eurasian steppe into the Mediterranean basin. 4. Egyptian synthesis, Geb, Nut, and the primordial great cackler. The transition of these motifs into Egypt likely occurred through Paleolithic migrations across the Levant or via earlier African-Eurasian exchanges. Geb and the goose, Geb, the earth god, is often identified as the great cackler, Ken-Wer, the primordial goose who laid the egg containing the sun. This identifies the earth itself as a progenitor of life through an avian metaphor. Isis and the nest, the name of Isis, Aset, is written with the hieroglyph for throne. Symbolically, the throne functions as the nest or the seat of power. Isis is frequently depicted with kite wings, protecting the deceased. Her connection to the egg is seen through her role as the mother of Horus, often equated with the emergence of the sun from the shell. Nun and the Finno-Ugric parallel, the concept of Nun, the primordial waters, bears a striking resemblance to the watery chaos found in Uralic and Samoyedic mythologies. In both systems, a water bird, duck-goose, is the only entity capable of navigating the depths of Nun to bring up the earth or the egg. 5. Conclusion, a unified boreal Mediterranean tradition. The archaeological record suggests that the avian cult is not a series of isolated inventions but a trans-Eurasian continuity. The Siberian bird pendants, the Greek glacial survivors, and the Egyptian great cackler all point to a Paleolithic substrate where the bird represented the breath of life, pneuma, and the egg represented the latent potential of the universe. Numbered sources and archaeological references. 1. Siberian Paleolithic, State Hermitage Museum Archive, St. Petersburg. Malta and Buret ivory bird pendants and anthropomorphic figurines, 24,000 BP. 2. Genetic context, Raghavan, M., ETAL, 2014. Upper Paleolithic Siberian genome reveals dual ancestry of Native Americans. Nature. Focuses on the Malta Boy Ma 1. 3. Old European Symbolism, Gimbutas, M., 1989. The Language of the Goddess. Harper Row. Focuses on the bird and egg motifs in Neolithic Paleolithic Europe. 4. Aegean Continuity, Pearls, c. 2001. The Early Neolithic in Greece. Cambridge University Press. Discusses continuous habitation and symbolic transmission. 5. Egyptian Cosmogony, Wilkinson, R.H., 2003. The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt. Thames Hudson. Details on Geb as the Great Cackler and the Symbolism of Isis. 6. Uralic Myth Research, Napolskik, V.V., 1992. Proto-Uralic World Picture, a Reconstruction. Comparative Study of the Earth Diver Bird Myth and its Links to Near Eastern Cosmogonies. 7. Isis and the Throne, Hart, G., 2005. The Routledge Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses explores the etymology of Aset and avian manifestations. 8 Paleolithic Rock Art, Klotz, J. 2003. Chauvet Cave, The Art of Earliest Times. Early Avian Depictions in European Cave Systems. Appendix 2. The Coming Back, from 7th century. The sanctuary of Artemis Orthia at Sparta is one of the most significant archaeological sites in ancient Greece. While primarily dedicated to Artemis, it was later associated with syncretic cults. Regarding your specific inquiry about an Isis sanctuary in Sparta, it is important to clarify that while an Isian, sanctuary of Isis and Serapis, existed in Spartos mentioned by Pausanias, the most robust archaeological data comes from the broader Spartan religious complex. 1. Written sources and historical context. The primary written evidence for the cult of Isis in Sparta comes from the 2nd century AD travel writer Pausanias. In his description of Greece, Book 3, 14.5, he explicitly mentions, "The Spartans have also a sanctuary of Isis and of Serapis." This indicates that by the Roman period, Spartan religious life had integrated Egyptian deities, following the broader Hellenistic trend of syncretism. Historically, this sanctuary was likely located near the Spartan Agora or the Gymnasium area, representing the internationalization of Spartan piety under Roman rule. 2. Archaeological evidence. Archaeological excavations in Sparta, conducted largely by the British School at Athens, have uncovered several key findings related to the Egyptian cults. Votive offerings. Excavations have yielded small figurines, amulets, and Egyptianizing artifacts. These include scarabs and faience figures that date back as far as the 7th century BC, suggesting trade links with Egypt long before the formal establishment of an Isian. Inscriptions. Epigraphic evidence confirms the presence of Isiaci, devotees of Isis, in Laconia. Inscribed steles mention priests and officials dedicated to the Egyptian gods during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Architecture. Unlike the massive temple of Artemis Orthia, the physical remains of the Spartan Isian are fragmentary. Foundations near the theatre and the Eurotas River bank are often debated by topographers as potential sites for these foreign sanctuaries. 3. Genetics and bioarchaeology. While there is no specific Isis-specific genetic study, broader paleogenetic research on Spartan skeletal remains, ancient DNA or ADNA, provides context. Population continuity. Genetic studies of the Peloponnese, e.g., Lazarides et al., suggest that while Sparta was famously isolationist, the population during the Roman period, when the Isis cult peaked, showed increased genetic proximity to the wider eastern Mediterranean. Mobility. Bioarchaeological analysis of strontium isotopes in Laconian cemeteries indicates that some individuals buried near religious centers were migrants, potentially bringing cults like that of Isis with them from North Africa or Alexandria. References. 1. Pausanias. Description of Greece, Volume 2, Books 3-5, Laconia, Messenia, Elys 1. Translated by W. H. S. Jones. Loeb Classical Library. 2. Cartledge, p. 2002. Sparta and Laconia, A Regional History 130-0362 BC. Routledge. 3. Walker, S. Protopsaltis, D. 2002. Sparta in the Roman Period. In the Spartas, British School at Athens Studies. 4. Lazarides, I. et al., 2017. Genetic Origins of the Minoans and Mycenaeans. Nature, 548, 7666, 200, and 14218. 5. Spaforth, AJS, 2011. Greece and the Augustan Cultural Revolution. Cambridge University Press. Discusses the integration of foreign cults in Roman Sparta.